Do you find yourself sad that the Olympics got canceled this year? Are you looking for something to fill that void of international competition? Do what I did and pick the nerdiest way possible to fill that void. Participate in the Read the Olympics Readathon. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm JJ the Bearded Bookworm, and today I'm a little bit late getting this out, but I'm announcing that I'm participating in the Read the Olympics Readathon. Not to be confused with the Olympic Games Readathon going on themed around Percy Jackson. So the Read the Olympics Readathon was created by Kayla over at Crack Into a New Book, and as soon as I heard about it, I got really excited. It was the motivation I needed. I've been in a slump the last month or so, kind of inadvertently, and it perked me right up, and I'm extremely motivated to read a bunch of books. So as you might have guessed by how these readathons typically go, this one has a giant list of prompts themed around different events that you would see in the Olympic Games. They've got things like gymnastics, skateboarding, boxing, swimming. I think they came up with over 100 prompts. It's 110, 115 or so. Basically the way this one works is each event has a list of prompts in them, and when you read a book, if it fulfills that prompt, you basically fill in one of those categories. Filling in one category gets you the bronze medal, filling in two categories gets you the silver medal, and filling in three in one of these events gets you a gold. Now these aren't genre specific. There are some that are specific. It could be something like read a book from an author from Africa or South Africa, or it could be as general as read a book with a blue cover or a person on the cover. Basically, just as you go through, you read a book, if it fills one of the prompts, it counts towards it, and by the end of this, you'll end up with, a list of medals that you fulfilled. Now, a book can count for more than one prompt, more than one event, but there is hard mode, and as soon as I hear something like hard mode, I'm all ears. I'll always choose the harder path. Hard mode basically means one book can only count for one prompt. And so essentially, instead of reading a book that might count for 2 or 3 different prompts, you got to be specific. At least I was having to be strategic as far as what book I was going to use for what prompt. I grew up during the Michael Phelps era of the Olympics, so I was motivated by that and decided not only to do hard mode, but I was going to shoot for Michael Phelps level of gold medals. Now the lowest amount of medals that Michael Phelps got at an Olympic Games is 4. We're not counting the first one where he was 15 and didn't medal at all. But the most that he got in Olympic Games is 8 medals. So my goal, which given my track record this year of reading, even with doing BookTube, is insane. I can't even read 10 books, let alone more than that. The goal is I'm going to match that in hard mode, which means 12 to 24 books at some point in this. I did make it a little bit easier for me, and you'll see that as I go through what books I'm planning on reading for this, but I lost my damn mind. My other motivation with this is all of the TBRs that I've done this year, I haven't done very well as sticking to them. I mean, let's be real, who does? But I feel bad about that, so my goal with this readathon is I'm actually going to go back to all of those books that I didn't read and actually finish them. As well as I am going to be staying on track, catching up a little bit, and getting ready for Cosmere 2020. So those two things, catching up with the TBR and reading my Cosmere books, takes up most, or if not all, of the TBR for this readathon. So without further ado, here are the events that I am going to be participating in and the books that I'm reading for those events. The first prompt is 100 meters. This is over quick. Read a graphic novel. And the graphic novel that I'm going to be reading is White Sand. This is the only Cosmere graphic novel, and I'm really excited because I personally love graphic novels, comics, manga, and I've been dying to actually read this because the bits that I already know about this are really interesting to me, so I'm going to really enjoy reading this. Next one is the 200 meters, read a novella, and so I'm going to be reading Mistborn's Secret History. Don't know if that actually counts as a novella or not, but it's, 150 pages or whatever. But I can't read that until I'm done with Era 2, which is also in this list of things that I need to read. But kind of gives behind the scenes as far as Kelsier and the events that go on in the Mistborn universe. Then the last event for track is 800 meters. This is one of the middle distance events, and so you're supposed to read a book that's in the middle of a series. So the one I'm picking is Shadows of Self. This is book 2 of the Mistborn Era 2 series. Alright, so the next little category is swimming, and the first one is freestyle. So the prompt says freestyle. This is a fast swimming stroke. Get yourself fired up to race. Read a book with fire on the cover or fire in the title. So I'm going to be busting out High Fire. This is the book that I tried to read in the beginning of the year and just, for whatever reason couldn't get into it. But I'm revisiting it because Artemis Fowl just came out, the movie, and so I'm going to be visiting his adult fantasy novel. Next is backstroke. This is obviously done by swimming on your back. Reread a book that you've previously enjoyed. My choice is going to be Way of Kings. Now this is the one that I might not actually be able to finish. I'm planning on starting this at the beginning of June, and I'll probably try to ration it or budget it out to where I finish in time for this event to be over. Then the last one for swimming is butterfly. The prompt says this stroke uses the butterfly or dolphin kick. Read a book about mermaids or sirens, and the book that I'm going to be reading is The Deep. Now it's about mermaids that descended from slaves as they were coming over to America, women that were pregnant that were thrown overboard and died in the water. Through whatever means, their babies became these mer people, and they've kind of lost and don't remember their history. They live these very idyllic lives for all except for the one person who's called the historian, and they're the person that remembers all of the pain and the suffering that their people had to go through to survive and live. Next is sport climbing. This category hopefully is going to be a very easy, very quick one for me to go through. The first prompt is speed. Climb as fast as possible. Read a book in one sitting. Now this is where I tried to make it easy for myself and picked A Wizard of Earthsea. It's less than 200 pages, or just under 200 pages. I should be able to read that all in one sitting. All distractions be damned. Hopefully I can just kind of put everything out of my mind and just sit down and just knock this out real quick. Next prompt is bouldering. Climb without ropes or harnesses. Randomly choose a book for your TBR. Now, I don't have a lot of books on my bookshelf, and basically all of them are kind of on my TBR. Plan on reading them. So what I did was just a random number generator, 6 shelves, then figured out how many books were on that shelf, and rolled again for that many. And the book that I landed on is The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. This is one of the classic sci-fi books, and another one that luckily I got that's really short, so should be able to knock this out in a day probably. The prompt for this one says climb as high as possible. pick the book that is at the top of your TBR pile. I don't really have piles, as like I just said. But I just got done reading The Girl in the Stars, so I'm super excited and most excited to be reading Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence. And this is his debut novel, so it'll be fun going from his most recent work to back to the beginning and kind of continue forward from there. Alright, next event is shooting. The first event is pistol. The prompt says, be a gunslinger, read a Western or Western-inspired book. Now, I might be flexing this or bending the rules a little bit, but I picked Alloy of Law. Everything I've heard is that this is very Western feeling, so I think it counts. Next is Rifle, read a flintlock fantasy. The book I plan to read for this one is Promise of Blood. Now this one, like I've said in previous videos, has been just eating away at me. It's another one that this and Prince of Thorns are the two that I'm like, I need to read these. This is extremely fascinating to me. The only thing I really know about it is that in the magic system, they consume gunpowder to fuel their magic. So it seems very weird to me. And the last one is Trap. And the prompt is, it's a trap! Read a Star Wars book. So what I'm choosing to read is the first volume in the Darth Vader comic series. This follows Darth Vader after A New Hope and his efforts to kind of hunt out and thwart the rebellion while also, dealing with all of the maliciousness of the Empire. Alright, so this is going to be the last category because I know myself and I know I'm probably not going to get to the other ones, but this last one includes one of the Mistborn novels that I need to read, so it's getting included, and that is Rhythmic Gymnastics. The first one is Hoop. Hoops can be customized with colored tapes. Read a book that matches your outfit, at least when you first start it. So, back to the strategy. Picked Bands of Mourning because it's got, lots of blues and whatnot. And it just, felt like a book that I could fairly easily match with my outfit. Alright, so the next one is Ball. The ball in Rhythmic Gymnastics is made out of rubber to make it really resilient. Read a book about a character who overcame the odds. Now, I'm going to be reading The Martian, which if you haven't seen the movie or read the book, it's basically what it's about, is an astronaut trying to survive on Mars. Then the last category for Rhythmic Gymnastics is clubs. So this one says, competitive combat juggling with clubs is evidently something that exists. Read a book with a competition. Now, I didn't know this when I first heard about this book, but recently watched a review, and I'm going to be reading Red Rising because the main character enters into a Hunger Games-esque type competition. So, hopefully over the course of this readathon, I'm going to be starting my Red Rising journey. So, there you have it. I didn't want to make a TBR at the beginning of the month because I knew that I was going to be participating in this, starting in the middle of the month. So, here's the books that I'm planning on reading between now and July 19th. Just realized I didn't say what dates this readathon's going on. It's going on from now until July 19th. You can follow the readathon as a whole at Read the Olympics 2020 on Twitter. There is a link on there for a form that you can fill out. I think they're doing some type of formal recognition in a video type thing for the competition as far as, submitting the books for the medals. And in the words of the great Nacho Libre, it's for fun. Yeah, those are the books that I'm planning on reading between now and July 19th. Let me know down in the comments if you're also participating, and if so, what events are you going for, what books are you excited to be reading, and if you're not participating in the readathon, that's perfectly fine. What books are you reading, anyway. That's all I have for today. Once again, I'm JJ the Bearded Bookworm. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.